Asteroid City is a 2023 science fiction film written and directed by Wes Anderson, with a story by Anderson and Roman Coppola. The film stars Jason Schwartzman, Scarlett Johansson, Tom Hanks, Edward Norton, and many more. To me, this film is a breakdown of the storytelling process and explores our reasons for telling stories in the first place. Let's discuss why. With this video essay, I want to do something a bit different to what I usually do. Usually I will walk you through a film and discuss what I liked, what I didn't like, and what the overall film is saying to me. However, when I first watched Asteroid City, I didn't have the need to talk about it in that way, in that format. This time I just wanted to speak about one thing that jumped out to me, a theme in the film that kept jumping out to me, and that theme being the theme of storytellers telling stories and trying to understand why they do it. In the film, we see that the film is presented as a play. A writer is introduced and he monologues us into the main bulk of the film. We meet all our characters, all of them with their own issues and life problems, but all of them creative in some way. For example, Woodrow is a genius, Augie is a photographer, and Midge Campbell is an actress. Augie and Midge's scenes often take place in their rooms as they talk to one another from across the way in each other's windows. These scenes are about Midge's play predominantly as she tries to practice her scenes with the non-actor Augie. In these moments, the two contemplate the scenes, often wondering what the point is, and Augie can't seem to understand. Towards the end of the act, we see a black and white interlude with Bryan Cranston's narrator leading us to the events of the writer casting Augie as actor in the play. The two don't discuss the play or the character. In fact, Augie shows the writer exactly what he can do. He does the scene well, and he and the writer fall in love, causing Augie to be cast. This scene sets up the idea that maybe Augie's actor doesn't actually get the play or the character, and this is something that he struggles with later. In these sections also, we see the other characters being played by the actors in between their scenes. The final storyteller I want to touch on will be Bryan Cranston's narrator. He has no name and he leads us into each and every act. He's literally the one telling the story. There is even a great moment later in the film when he's in a scene and he realizes he's come into the film a bit too early, so he has to leave, and that's great. If the narrator is the literal storyteller of the film, then that means surely that in some way he's a stand-in for Wes Anderson, inserting himself in the story, leading you through the weaves of the story itself. It makes sense to me because Anderson is an auteur who puts himself in every film he does. There are two major stories going on in the film. The play, about an ensemble cast who go through their lives as it's rocked by the discovery of an alien. Then the production, the story of a writer and the actors coming together to present his story. And some of the most interesting parts of the film is when the two plot threads merge together, but we'll get back to that later. In the film, we see a few cases of the story of the film that Midge is practicing, and that makes its way into the play itself. For example, in one scene, Midge says she's an actress who will probably be found dead with an empty bottle of pills spilled across the floor. Not long after this, Augie actually sees Midge lying in her bathtub, pills all over the floor, she looks lifeless. For one quiet short moment, we think that Midge died, that art took over her reality. But it turns out, Midge is just getting ready to run through the scene and the moment has passed. This is showing that the lines between the reality and the play are blurred because the actors are telling a story with very real characters and themes. Within the real world of the production, we see that the narrator is presenting another real scene. A lot of the actors are walking you through this one, and we see the narrator push himself into a couple of shots. This is again to me another example of the storyteller forcing himself into the story. It's even more interesting when you realize this isn't the narrator's story. In fact, it's the writer's story. However, 6 months into the play showings, the writer has died. Here, I could go into the death of the author theory, but I think Anderson explores something different here. It's more about what happens to the play or to the art when the author is dead. Who takes on the story, who lives in the characters, and who should or shouldn't do that. The narrator involves himself more and more as we get closer to the writer's death, and it's forceful. It doesn't feel right when the audience sees the narrator in the wrong moment or wrong scene because he isn't the storyteller, it's the writer's story. Maybe nobody else should take that story, give it new worlds and represent it. But then that leads us to the question of whose story is this now and why should we keep telling it? As we move into the third act, we show Asteroid City 1 week after the events of the alien interaction. We see the city has fallen to capitalism, however the characters are all in quarantine. All of our characters meet at the alien sighting site to discuss the end to the lockdown. However, the aliens return and they drop the asteroid back down to the humans. The humans look over it and see that the aliens have left engravings on it and are now leaving it alone, or so we think. But the alien's intact and all the characters lose it. running around, screaming, fighting. But here, we focus on Augie. He looks lost, confused. He announces that he doesn't get the play, and he walks off stage.
I still don't understand the play.
What?
Where are you going?
We are back in the real world. Augie's actor paces backstage, rushing, looking for someone. The author of the story is dead. Who could he be looking for? We see Aidan Brody's character, Schubert Green, the play's director. The two discuss the play and what Augie's actor doesn't understand about it. The director is the closest thing to the original author of the play at this point, and he explains to Augie's actor that he's been playing him right all this time. Maybe he doesn't have to understand the story to tell it. You might feel uncertain, but just play the role, tell the story, and it will come together. The scene is really the crux of this entire video essay. It's the director telling the actors to just keep going, to lean into that confusion and tell the story the best way he can, because that's the right way. This whole film is about how you don't need to understand a story to tell one, you just need to tell it. And that works so well for me, and it's so clear in this film. Wes Anderson's latest work has spoken to me on a creative level, mainly because of this pondering on creativity itself, storytelling, and just what it means to create. And right now, I really think that this film is the apex of that theory and exploration. The French Dispatch touched on similar themes of storytelling, but this deals with the insecurity of that, as well as the personal take on a piece of work. After this moment, we see maybe the best scene in the film. Augie's actor walks onto a closed down set and sees Margot Robbie's character. She is nameless, but in the story world, she is Augie's dead wife. In the real world, she's the actor who had her scene cut. The two actors go over the scene and it's beautiful. The themes meditate on grief and loss, but the scene itself is showing how characters, themes and ideas never die. Even they are being played backstage, and the story can never really get told without the ideas existing in some form or another. Like all Wes Anderson films, there's whimsy in every corner of the world, and you can't wake up if you don't fall asleep. But yes, thank you very much for watching this video. A bit of a quicker one today, a bit of more of a focused analysis on a certain thing and a more specific thing. I hope you did enjoy. Please leave a like and a comment if you can, that'd be great. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much. Goodbye.